It's not religious rituals. It's not like when we go to a Hindu temple and we make religious rituals and automatically results are going to come, some kind of results. With Krishna, there's no guarantee. And what we do, what Krishna wants from us, is spiritual practice, which is born out of free will. So every one of us, we've deliberately made a decision to come here today for Nrsimha Day's appearance day. Children have not. They follow the parents. It's good that they get an impression, but it is a serious business. Devotional practice is very serious. So I humbly request the parents to try to keep the children engaged, because adults have come here out of free will, to try to do some spiritual practice, and it's very hard to focus, especially in the Kali Yuga. Thank you. So today is Nrsimha Day's appearance day, and for many years we've heard the same story, and there is no variation to the story, of course. You know, whatever we get from Shastra, this is what we're going to repeat. So before starting, I'm going to offer my respectful obeisances to the Lotus Feet of my Gurudev. Namo Vishpadaya Krishna Vishaya Bhuta Nishmati Tamar Krishna Bhutani Kamine. And to all in sweet succession, Namo Vishpadaya Krishna Vishaya Bhutani Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharya Niri Shishashinavani Bhashkachari Shatarani. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Yanati Vendisedana Gunashala Chakra Gumita Veda. Tasmai Shri Guru Maha. Ukamkoti Vajan Bhumanagani Lakipada Mahamaleshi Kumyatari. Vanchak Kalpatu Yastak Basmure Vichapatita Nampalani Vashani Namo. So we will start Nrsimha Day's story from the time that Hiranyaksha was killed. So we all know the story, two brothers, Jai and Vijay, in the spiritual world got cursed. They come here, they are offered a choice by Lord Vishnu, 3 lifetimes as demons, as my enemies, or 7 lifetimes as my devotees. But you see, because of such a deep attachment to Lord Vishnu, and why should there be a deep attachment to Lord Vishnu? He says it himself. Mamaya Vamsha Jiva Loke. Mamaya Angsha. We are all his Angsha, his part. Jiva Loke, all the Jivas, everywhere. We are part of Krishna. Mamaya Vamsha Jiva Loke, Jiva Buddha Sanatana. And we are eternal. But Mana Shishta Indiyani, we are struggling very, very hard with the mind and the 6 senses. Stuck, Prakriti, Stogi, Karshati. Very stuck in this material nature. But as we are part and parcel of him, it's like we are one of his limbs. Like Prabhupada says, the same nature, but of course, not the same, not in quantity. So when Jai and Vijay were offered 7 lifetimes as devotees, it was way too long to get back. So they chose 3 lifetimes as demons. So when they come as demons, they forget who they are. Everyone forgets. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Arjuna, many, many births, you and I have both passed. You don't remember any of them, but I do remember every single one of them. And Prabhupada says, that's another proof that Krishna never changes body. We change body, that's why we forget. So when Jai and Vijay come in different births, so this birth is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they forget who they are. All they know that they are enemies of Vishnu. And Hiranyaksha has been killed. It's a long story. He's just been killed. And Hiranyakashipu is lamenting and grieving. But he cannot give in too much to grief because his mother and his sisters-in-law and nephews are also shattered. They're full of grief. So he goes to comfort them. And it is interesting how he comforts them. You know, like today, in this day and age when we comfort people We like to speak pleasing stuff that pleases the senses, but does it really give any comfort? We don't really know. Like if something like that would happen to someone in this day and age, we would say, oh, don't worry, be happy, he's in a better place now. He's looking over you, he's watching over you. But here Hiranyakashipu says to his mother and his sisters-in-law and his nephews, he says, he's quoting Shastra, he's quoting philosophy. He says, my brother died a hero. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter 2, verse 22, he says, the Atma is eternal, without decay, pure, capable of going to all planets, experiences life everywhere, and is different from the body. This is Hiranyakashipu speaking. Very, very profound philosophy. And he continues, by its ignorance, the Atma accepts for itself a subtle body in order to accept and reject various gross bodies. And then he starts to tell a story. And then he starts to tell a story of bygone ages, a forgotten story, between Yamaraj and the relatives of a dead king. The king came from battle, he was killed, his wives were lamenting, and they also wanted to die with him. So Yamaraj, taking pity on the wives of the king, comes there as a young boy. So Hiranyakashipu, he speaks a lot of verses. Finally, Hiranyakashipu says, while Yamaraj, in the form of a small boy, was speaking, all the relatives, struck with wonder, began to consider that the world is temporary and that it will disappear just as it arose. So at the end, the relatives of that dead king realized, we die now, we die later, we're going to die anyway. So hearing that story, Diti, the mother of Hiranyaksha, and her daughters-in-law and nephews, and, nephews of Hiranyakashipu, they all give up their lamenting and they engage their mind in understanding the truth. But see, the illusion is such that even though Hiranyakashipu just spoke very high philosophy, you are not the body, my brother was not the body, which means also he himself is not the body. Still, illusion is so strong. And who is that illusion? Maya. Krishna says, Devi Esha Gunamaya. That Maya is divine energy. And Mama Maya, my Maya, Krishna says, is Duratyaya. Very difficult to overcome. We almost have no chance on our own. So Hiranyakashipu, after speaking such philosophy that actually comforted his relatives, he himself is so illusioned that his hatred for Vishnu becomes even more, intensifies even more, because he was very attached to his brother. And so he desires not only the death of Vishnu, he desires sovereignty over all the worlds, lower, the hellish planets, the middle planets, and the higher planets. And so, as we know, he starts his austerities. And he had such power, such severe austerities that stars and planets fell from orbit. The directions were on fire. The Devas then ran to Brahma, complaining. And they tell Brahma, this demon, by his austerities, he is making everything chaotic. And not only that, Brahma, but he wants your post. And he wants greater power than you. And the Devas implore Brahma, do something. Do something. So Brahma, he comes to see who is this Hiranyakashipu. And when he comes to that place where he's doing austerities, he doesn't even find him because he's covered by an anthill. But still, long story short, they engage in conversation. And we know what Hiranyakashipu wants. I want to be immortal. Brahma says, I can't. I myself am going to die. Okay, then by all tricks, he says, not in the sky, don't want to be killed on land, not by any weapons, not by anything living, not by anything dead, not by any mortal, animal, human, long thing. We know that story. And Brahma says, so be it. So Hiranyakashipu, he starts to occupy. He's so powerful. He occupies the post of Indra. And Indra runs away. All the demigods, they run away to hide in the clouds. They have no more abode. And there, he doesn't reign. Remember, these are celestial years. Long, long time. He doesn't reign for a moment. He reigns for thousands and thousands of years, giving pain to the devotees, giving pain to the devatas. It doesn't end. And finally, the devatas, they're suffering for so long, and they don't know what to do because that demon is so powerful. So finally one day, they hear that voice, an embodied voice that announces. He says, your suffering will come to an end when this demon subjects his son Prahlad to atrocities. And so, demons are destroyed when the scale tips. Just like long time ago, I heard in a class, we wonder, how could Krishna subject Draupadi to such an insult of trying to be disrobed, trying to become Dushishan, trying to disrobe her in front of an assembly of men, just men. And it's normal, at first she tries to protect herself, and Krishna doesn't do anything. Only when she puts her arms in the air, that Krishna then manifests his compassion. So, why did it have to come to that point? And we heard the Kauravas, they were not really devotees of Krishna, but they followed all what Shastra said we should follow. They were kind to the Brahmins, they were respectful, they gave charity, they were good kings, they did everything right. It's just that Krishna did not want them to be in power. And they were also very envious of the Pandavas, and they repeatedly tried to kill them. For their destruction, they had to do something really atrocious that would build up in their karma, that now is the time for all of you to be destroyed. The whole dynasty would be destroyed. So that disrobing of trying to disrobe Draupadi tipped the scales. In the same way that when Hiranyakashipu would try to kill his son by various means, his sinless son by various means, that would engender his destruction. Because remember, he did austerities. He did austerities for tens of thousands of years. So not just because now he's doing horrible stuff, giving pain to others, that immediately he should get destroyed. Because of these austerities, he got the power to do anything. And that's why he continued for thousands of years. Now, Prahlad is one of his sons. And he is said to be the best son of of that demon. And actually, since very, very young, Prahlad regularly saw the Lord while he was growing up. It's not that he saw the Lord only when he came out of the pillar. It's a very personal relationship. Prabhupada says we should try to know Krishna. In one of the lectures of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says we should try to know Krishna. And we can know Krishna by reading the Bhagavad Gita. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking about himself. I am the seed-giving Father. From me, everything, the spiritual and the material world, emanates. And he tells Arjuna, surrender to me. I will protect you. Do not worry. This is Krishna speaking. So Prabhupada said we should try to know Krishna. And at the end, if we are fortunate, when we listen to that lecture of Srila Prabhupada, he makes a slight pause. And if you're listening, your mind keeps running, and you think Prabhupada is going to say, at the end, if you're fortunate, you become an associate of Krishna, which would be a normal result. But Prabhupada doesn't say that. He said, and at the end, if we are fortunate, we surrender. So see from which level surrender starts. It starts from the level of knowing Krishna. So here, Prahlad, he sees the Lord of his heart from a very young age. He's not imagining. We have to be careful. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the difference between transcendental and mental is so subtle, and most of us will miss it. Most of us. He's not talking about non-devotees here. He's talking about us. Because transcendental, those who are not devotees, materialists, are not interested in that which is transcendental. So he says, that which is mental and transcendental, the difference between the two is very, very subtle. Transcendental is characterized by the absence of mental speculation. So Prahlad was actually seeing the Lord of his heart. And it is said in a few verses, his mind became troubled when sometimes he would not see the Lord of his heart. And he'd cry. And then he'd laugh on seeing him again. And joyful, thinking of the Lord's mercy, he sang loudly. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 4, verse 29. So Prahlad already had a relationship with Vishnu. And sometimes with hair standing on end, he would remain silent, blissful, because of the touch of the Lord's hand. So sometimes the Lord would touch his hand without movement, and Prahlad would be so frozen in ecstasy because the Lord is holding his hand. He would remain with Prahlad would remain with his eyes half closed, filled with tears of joy, expressing his affection for the Lord of the heart, his heart. The Srimad Bhagavatam, again, is all 7th canto, chapter 4, verse 36. It says, Krishna graha grihi tatma. So Prahlad was as if haunted by Vasudeva. Some say Vasudeva means Nrsimha. Others say Vasudeva refers to Krishna. As in Prahlad's prayers in the Vishnu Purana, it is said, the Lord wearing yellow cloth appeared, and that's Krishna. And also it is said, Prahlad was embraced by Govinda. Others say that Prahlad first had attraction for Vasudeva, and then later for Nrsimha when he appeared. So we all know how he turned his classmates into Vaishnavas, and how his teachers tried again and again, desperately, to make him into a politician. He would recite whatever his teachers would tell him, but whenever his father would take him on his lap and asked him, what have you learned today? He always came out talking about Lord Vishnu. And finally, this angered his father so much. In the beginning, his father thought the teachers were teaching him wrong. And then he thought those devotees of Vishnu, they're sneaking in and they're brainwashing him. So we have to guard him very, very carefully. So that also didn't work. And finally, the one time that broke Hiranyakashipu was when Prahlad still spoke about the Lord of his heart. And then Hiranyakashipu threw Prahlad away from his lap. And he told his gods, take him and kill him. Kill him, he doesn't deserve to live. And we all know how the gods tried to kill him by various means. Boiling oil, throwing him from high mountains, trying to drown him, poison him, in different ways. But he did not die. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur first went to Radhakund, his disciples were expecting that he would speak about Radha and Krishna. But during the whole time that they stayed in Radhakund, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke about the teachings of Prahlad. Because when Krishna says, Sarva Dhamman Parityajya, surrender unto me and do not fear, Prahlad embodies that surrender. It's to a point where you are at the edge of a cliff. Picture that, it's real. It's not stories. You are standing at the edge of the cliff and you need to go on the other side. There is an empty space in between, a chasma, and someone tells you there's an invisible bridge. Just step into nothing. How many of us will do that? Honestly. You? You could be a kid. One little kid. Maybe you will. Most of us will not. Most of us will not. But this is, imagine they're trying to kill him by various means. All he's doing is reciting prayers to the Lord of his heart. This is the degree that we have to come to. You see, in 1968, one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, he says, you can see Krishna face to face in this very lifetime. It is possible. He says easy, but not cheap. So the not cheap means every little attachment we have in this material world will make us come back. We will have to leave that desire. We will have to leave that attachment. Prabhupada in my lecture says a pinch of attachment, we will have to come back. So a long time ago, I asked my Guru a question a bit similar to that. And I was wondering, seems like there's no hope. When will I ever be free of desire? And he replied, saying, I have it still in a letter. Good thing these days, these bygone days we had letters. And he replied saying, Prabhupada personally told me, if you stay in the Sankirtan movement, then Lord Chaitanya will personally come and cover for that what we lack and take us by the hand back to God. That's the hope that we have. But then what does that mean? Chanting Hare Krishna, right? We all like to hear that. We sit, we chant in happiness. And we mostly forget there are 10 offenses. Right? The 10 offenses, we forget. Most of us, we do forget. And also something that we really forget is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya speaks of the gardener. The devotional practice starts to expand in our heart like a creeper growing the Bhakti-rata, right? But, and the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra waters this creeper. But, he says, there are weeds. All our desires, they are like weeds. There's a reason why Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim comes right after Chinara Pisunichena. Think of Shikshashtakam, how Lord Chaitanya presented it to us. There's a logic to it. And Prabhupada says the Acharya doesn't speak random words. Everything is precise. The first verse is telling us basically what the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra does. Chetodapa from Chetodapa Mantra, cleaning the heart from all the dust accumulated, the fire of conditional life extinguishing, to the rays of the benediction moon, to tasting the nectar for which we are always anxious. But then what is the problem? Oh my Lord, you have hundreds and thousands of names, and in each and every one of those names you have invested your full potency. But I do Daivam. I am so unfortunate that Nanuraga, I don't have any attraction for any one of those names. From that, which is reality, it's not pretend, it's real. You see, devotional practice starts from a platform of reality, because Krishna cannot reciprocate with pretense. There's nothing there. From reality, then we get the help that is needed. So when we realize that, then we come to Trinada Pisunichena. We chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in a humble state of mind. Can everybody please come in front? Because there's people who keep coming. Thank you. So we chant Hare Krishna in a humble state of mind. So this humble state of mind comes when we realize, when I'm chanting Hare Krishna, it is almost impossible to capture the sound vibration in my ears. I start Hare, by the time it's Re, my mind has gone. I'm thinking of so many other things. And 1 hour later, I realize, oh my God, I was never listening to the Maha Mantra. Because why? The mind is turbulent, whimsical, turbulent. Imagine a storm in there. So many things happening in the mind. Whimsical, jumping from one subject matter to another, and obstinate. So stubborn. And what does Arjuna conclude? More difficult to control than the wind. But Krishna said it is possible. By constant practice and detachment. Very important. Detachment. Meaning we are not in control. I noticed after an hour in kirtan or japa, my mind was somewhere else. Let it go. Don't beat ourselves. It doesn't work. Just try again. From now, this mantra, I start again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. For japa, interestingly enough, Prabhupada in one of the purports of the Bhagavatam says we should chant in pranayam. We should try that. Sit, Padmasana, chakras aligned, deep breath, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Some people can do 2 mantras in a breath, some can do 3. I can ask Mike, can do 1, 1.5, sometimes 2, but you can do maybe 4. And when you do in pranayam, interestingly enough, the sound ear is, the mind is sandwiched between the ear and the mouth and the tongue, which is vibrating. It doesn't go anywhere. Because we have to regulate our breath while chanting the mantra, so we are focused. But after 1 round, it's like you just ran 1,000 kilometers. It is that exhausting. But I will try. And in kirtan, it's easy. easier, but also maybe not so much, because so many things happen, people come in and out, we are easily distracted. We should try to close our eyes, because this is a city of 9 gates. 7 are in the face, 2 in the lower regions. When we are attacked by anything, lust, anger, greed, distraction, disease, anything, this is almost always one of the gates of the body. That's why we close our eyes. We try to close our ears to whatever is going on. We try to hear the Maha Mantra, and we chant the Maha Mantra. If we don't chant, we're not doing the service. The service comes with engaging the tongue. Atashi Vishanamali, Labhavat Gayam Indiya, Sevan Mukehi Jivado. With the mouth and the tongue, it starts there. So when we sit, we chant in kirtan. Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur says, if you think you don't know how to sing, open your mouth and sing anyway. It's called kirtan. Don't worry, you have a voice and a high voice. It's not about talent. Saraswati Thakur says very clearly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hasn't asked us to become proficient musicians. He has asked us to chant Hare Krishna. We need music to digest the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because we have no taste. But the mantra on its own is enough. And one day we hope to come to that level. So, Prahlad, come back to Prahlad. We know he turned his classmates into Vaishnavas, and we know that Hiranyakashipu tried to kill him in various cruel ways. But he was unsuccessful. So at the end, he was at the end of his wits. What am I going to do? How am I going to kill this person? It's a little bit like when Haridas Thakur was being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Those who were trying to kill him finally told him, please die, otherwise we're going to have a problem. So he was a little bit like that. So Hiranyakashipu was like, what am I going to do with this boy? Where do you get your strength from? And Prahlad, from the same source you get yours. Where is this Lord that you constantly pray to? Is he here? Is he there? Is he in this pillar? And it is said that Prahlad, when he turns and looks at the pillar, he actually sees the Lord of his heart in the pillar. And he replies, yes. With such conviction that Hiranyakashipu takes his sword and runs to the pillar and strikes the pillar. And out comes this terrifying creature. I'm going to read because it's really, really beautiful description of Lord Nrsimha. So 7th canto, 8th chapter, verse 15. At that time, from within the pillar came a fearful sound, as if the covering of the universe was cracking. When the sound reached the abodes of the Devatas, like Lord Brahma, upon hearing it, they thought that their abodes would be destroyed. I don't know if here you get very, very loud thunder. In tropical countries, sometimes the thunder is deafening. And one time I remember we were in the ashram, the thunder was so loud, I ran out of the room. And not only I, but everybody had ran out of the room. And we looked at each other, we realized, and we started to laugh. We were scared, out of our witless scared. So loud it was. Now imagine the sound that Hiranyakashipu made when he came out of the pillar. That even Brahma thought, this is the end now. It was that fearful. And the form of Nrsimha appeared in front of Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu studied that frightful form, who had fierce eyes, the color of molten gold. I don't know if anybody has ever been on a safari and seen lions, real lions. So you have seen lions. Have you noticed the color of their eyes? What is the color of their eyes?
Like golden yellow.
Yes, golden yellow. So you see, when Lord Nrsimha appears, it's not a pretend creature. It's not a new creature. He's half lion. and half human. Thank you for reminding me. And so, one of the lions we see here in this physical world, that face reminds us of Lord Nrsimha. And the lion, when he stares at you, it inspires fear because there's no emotions there. You don't know what the lion is thinking. And not only that, he's had dreadful teeth. Have you ever seen a lion open the mouth?
Yes.
His long fangs. They are scary. And if you're very close to a lion, very scary. One time we went on a safari, and the driver asked us, so, which would you prefer? That the snake jumps in or the lion jumps in? So we were a group in the van, like an open car. And we all said the snake. No, we all said the lion. And the driver said, what? I assure you, you would want the snake. Lion, you have no chance. You're dead. And so when this Nrsimha appeared, he was huge, towering up to the clouds. His mouth was huge, and his teeth were long. And Hiranyakashipu is looking at him, and his face looked bigger than it was because his mane was so big, and his tongue with a sharp tip was waving like a sword. Lions do that sometimes. They open the mouth wide, then the tongue is very, very long. It comes out and curls around the outer of the mouth. It's all very scary if you're close, actually. And his frown, because when the lion opens his mouth, so the whole face kind of goes backward and looks like he's frowning. His frown was terrifying, and his rigid ears pointed up. His nostrils spread open like mountain caves. That was a huge face. His open jaw was terrifying. His body covered by hairs, white like the moon, with broad chest and a narrow waist, and thick, short neck reached the sky. Huge, huge form. By his normal weapons and other excellent weapons, he made the demons flee. His normal weapons are the gada, the chakra, and bow and arrow. And he had other excellent weapons, apparently. So Hiranyakashipu, when he sees that, he thinks Lord Vishnu is playing a trick on him. He doesn't believe this form. He thinks this is like magic. And he says, he thinks Vishnu, by his mystic power, is trying to kill me. And at the same time, he approaches this form. And as he approaches, he's like an insect, because he is like human, maybe bigger than human size. And here, Nrsimha is huge, up to the sky. And just as an insect falls into fire, Hiranyakashipu disappeared within the Lord's effulgence. And still, he's so brave, the demon is so brave, that he uses his club and starts to strike Hiranyakashipu, Nrsimhadev, with great force. And Nrsimhadev captured the great demon along with his club. Just as Garuda captures a great snake, Garuda captures a snake with his talons. And so Hiranyakashipu and the Lord start to fight. And Nrsimhadev gives him a chance to slip away. And when he slips away, the Devatas are very fearful because they think, oh my God, now this is not good for us. They were hiding in the clouds. But laughing loudly with a terrifying sound, the agile Lord captured the demon once again. And the demon was moving up and down at the speed of a hawk. hawk is a bird of prey, very, very fast. And the demon did not leave any spot on his body exposed. He had his shield and he was using his sword. But when the Lord laughed, when Nrsimha laughed, the demon closed his eyes in fear. And Nrsimha captured the demon and casually, think about it, casually, with ease, without any great effort, he pierced to the skin of Hiranyakashipu, a skin that could not be injured by an axe. He pierced him at the door. He pierced him at the door, which was not in the assembly hall, nor outside. He placed him on his lap, a place which was neither on the ground, nor in the sky. He pierced him with his nails, which were neither living nor dead. And also he killed him during the twilight, which was neither day nor night. So with fierce eyes, difficult to look upon because of their anger, Nrsimha licked the edges of his gaping mouth with his tongue. His mane and face were red because of stains of drops of blood, and he wore the demon's intestines as a garland. Think about this. This defies everything. God is good, and God is always beautiful. It defies everything. With Krishna, there is no box. We have to be outside the box. He takes, if you ever have been on a safari, you've seen lions feeding, they go for the intestines to see again. Nrsimha, he doesn't break protocol at what lions usually do. So they normally go to eat the intestines, and they normally attack herbivores. Intestines, why? Because this is where the vegetables are. This is where their source of vegetables come from. And this is deep within the body, deep within the carcass. And when they get their face out of the carcass, the whole mane is pink and it's bloodied. We've seen that somewhere in the world we were. It's quite a spectacle. And for us, it is hard not to think of Nrsimha at every moment when you see lions. And I remember one time in England, normally at the manor they take school groups, regular schools. And teenagers are normally very cool, they're not impressed by anything. And so one time this group comes to me with this picture of Nrsimha, and they go like, what's that? Is that intestines around his neck? My God, sick. They were so impressed by that. So Nrsimha is, Krishna, who has no limit, who can do whatever he wants, can appear as anything he wants. And so it's a gruesome, ghastly, gory sight. He looked like a lion after killing an elephant. Normally lions don't kill elephants because elephants are huge. But very rarely they do manage to kill an elephant. So Hiranyakashipu, he also was a very brave warrior. He looked like a lion, but just killed an elephant. And this comes more gory details. Leaving aside Hiranyakashipu, whose heart he uprooted with his nails. So not only does he take the intestines and puts it around his neck, he takes the heart of the demon with his nails. It is said his bud-like nails. And he examines the heart. So he throws away the empty shell of Hiranyakashipu, the great demon who gave so much trouble to everybody, who thought he was immortal. And it is said, Hiranyakashipu's lotus, this is from Vishwanath Chakravarti's Sarata Darshini. Hiranyakashipu's lotus heart was uprooted by the buds of the Lord's nails. The Lord thought, I was living happily in his heart, but how did this unfortunate person make anger and hatred live there as well? This is interesting, isn't it? Krishna is personal. It's hard for us to understand even what to speak of, realize. But he's very personal. So he thought he was living there happily, but why did anger and hatred come there in that heart? So he pulled out his heart as if to inspect it. And he used the buds of his nails in order not to damage the demon's lotus of his heart. This is very strange. But anyway, this is Nrsimha. Most things that he does, we can't understand. As he said, maybe Narada, maybe Lord Shiva, maybe they know of Krishna's plan, but no one knows of his intentions. So that because Nrsimha was so big, so tall, the clouds were shaken by his mane, and the clouds fled away. The planets lost their effulgence by his glance. Remember, his glance is golden, and he himself is effulgent. And attacked by his breathing, fierce breathing, the oceans became agitated. The directions cried out in fear of his roaring. And the sky filled with airplanes, because the demigods were watching. And these airplanes became dislocated by his flying mane. And the earth as well, afflicted by his feet, slipped from its position. Mountains sprang up by his vehemence. His passion brought up mountains. And the sky and the directions lost their luster because of his effulgence. No one could serve the unchallenged, fully shining Lord with terrifying, angry face, seated on the king's throne in the hall. Still, seeing the demon dead, jubilation spread. And Lord Shiva came up to Nrsimha and asked him to please protect Prahlad. So it's almost time for Arti. I just want to recite the mantra that destroys obstacles. So all of you who know the mantra, please recite with me. Ukam Viram Mahavishnu Jwalantam Saratokam Nrsimham Vishanam Patam Mrityu Namamyaham. I bow down to the ferocious and heroic Lord Nrsimha, who is as bright as fire, who has faces everywhere, who is terrifying yet brings auspiciousness, and who is the death of death personified. So we have 3 minutes left, and I'll quickly tell a small story. There was this girl from the Balkan countries who went to Mayapur once, and she was losing her sight. And while being in front of Nrsimha, she kept on hearing that voice in her head. If you give me my eyes back, your sight will come back. So she had no clue what was happening. And while she was hearing that, so she approached the Pujari of Nrsimha. She said that. And the Pujari told her, yes, so we got new eyes as gift, and we changed his eyes. But it looked like Nrsimha wanted his old ruby eyes back. So they changed it back. And interestingly enough, and amazingly enough, that girl got her sight, at least some of her sight back. That happened many, many, many years ago. I think it was in the early 2000s or late 90s. So we will finish. So Nrsimha is very powerful. He's a person, not just an idea. Krishna also is a person, not just an idea. We have to desire that relationship. It starts with us first. And then he reciprocates. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Nrsimha Bhagavan ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Minda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.